What's up, everybody? Frost here, and we've got an update on the coronavirus situation. It's kind of a short episode, but Dr. Jason Goldsmith is back with us and providing information that you're probably not getting from television or, whatever news that you're reading. Not that there's any vast conspiracy, but mainly that, sometimes they're not always the best at their jobs. So if the audio sounds a little bit like we're stepping on each other, it's still a little bit shaky in some spots, that's because it is. We're all calling in ourselves, every single one of us, so, social distancing and whatnot. Being responsible, unlike those damn knuckleheads in New Jersey. Hi, guys. But, yeah. It's a good information set that he's got here for us, and you should probably be paying attention to it if, you want to make it through all this. So, fingers crossed. Good luck out there, everybody.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to a very special quarantine episode of the official Art of Fighting BS podcast. This evening, starring Frost.
My mic on.
Yeah. Special guest, multiple-time guest, repeat offender here, Dr. PhD, MD, LMNOP, XYZ, Jason Goldsmith, who is smarter than you.
That's right, and I'm back again.
And I am, as always, your incompetent host, sub-messenger.
I think, what we should do is probably just kind of, I guess the main point of this is to do an update, to give some information out. What's it like on the ground? What's the latest news? Because we were expecting to have everything kind of start hitting this week. Is that correct?
Yeah, the fan's in turbocharge, and the cow was given laxatives, and it's going to town. So yeah, this week is where we're not gonna see peak deaths till mid-April, and it's mid-April not because we'll be done with it, but because the places that are getting hit the hardest, like New York and New Jersey, and are that's when they're going to be at peak. Washington State's probably already peaked, and California will lag, but California is not as dense population-wise as New York, and so it's going to be more spread out. So when you're looking at when we're going to hit maximum deaths per day in the country, we're looking at 2 weeks from now is what the current models say. I mean, there's always plus or minus a little bit. New York is almost filled up in all of its hospital space. They're almost out of ventilators or out at this point. It's hard to keep up with all the news, but they're basically almost out and getting more. So they're buying ventilators left and right and staffing up and putting field hospitals in. And they just brought one of our medical carriers over so that they can offload all non-COVID patients to a carrier.
Yeah, I saw that. They were lining up to see it, which was
USS
ridiculous.
Hope, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mercy?
Yeah, and then the other one is going to LA. In Chicago, they're turning McCormick Place, which for people who go to conventions all the time is a giant convention center. It's the biggest in the country. They're turning that into a hospital. Locally here at Temple, they're turning a stadium into a hospital. Over at Temple, they tried to reopen Hahnemann, but the jerks that run it or own it, the venture capital firm, wanted $1 million.
City of brotherly love.
They wanted $400,000 a month or something. Yeah, so they said no, they couldn't afford that, so they're finding hospitals otherwhere. We have, you drive through tent-based testing facilities, which is great. Pennsylvania's had them for quite a while, but those are getting up and running. But yeah, we're making field hospitals everywhere we can. Every retired doctor is coming out. Med students are graduating 6 months early. All research at universities besides COVID stuff shut down, besides maintaining your mouse colonies and whatever else. And every physician is getting ready to get destroyed. I'm in the middle of, when I got my job where I'm at now, I didn't end up doing ICU at all, but I'm getting ICU clearance. You just have to fill out a bunch of paperwork. So I'm in the middle of doing that so I can take extra shifts in the ICU because they're doubling the number of people needed there. And it's just going to keep going. And for the last 2 weeks, all I treat is COVID.
Yeah, good times. Now, I know my wife's a nurse, so she was actually thinking about doing a short tour up in there because they're over just destroyed in New York, from what I can understand.
Yes,
and they're throwing money at people too. So it was $100 an hour just to go out there.
Yeah,
they set up the Javits Center, which is where they do the big Comic-Con as a hospital, and
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, joining us mid-podcast here is JMP. Hey!
Oh. Yeah, so...
All right, who's too much of a dinosaur to get his stuff organized is what he's not telling y'all. So All right, so it's the hospital. We were talking about the tent hospitals.
Then the convention center hospitals, and basically hordes of people descending on New York to help. And that's where the peak's going to hit first, but it's not going to end there. We're thinking that mid-April hospitals are going to be capped out in the places that are worse. So, Michigan will probably be capped. New Jersey will be capped out by then. Pennsylvania, where I am, probably will be.
I would imagine so, because you got Camden right there, another big city.
Our governor shut things down very early. So I'm in the county with the most cases, or I was until Philadelphia exceeded us. But when we had the first case of exposure, school was canceled on March 6th. So we've been out really early, and then lockdowns happened very soon after, county by county. He just did a lockdown in the whole state today, but he's been very data driven, and our rate has been relatively slow as a result of that. We're still seeing, so it's not even so much the rate. We're seeing the doublings at the speed everyone else is, but our initial exposed is pretty low and holding even, and didn't accelerate like some of these other people shifted up gear in other states. And we didn't have that because he activated all the proper protocols very early. So I think we'll probably cap out just because you never have enough hospital beds for this type of thing, but I think we're better positioned than some states. Yeah.
Yeah, we seem to be okay down here. Some places are running out of equipment, but I imagine the stuff's been ramped up. Production's been ramped up to the point where it'll catch up. There'll be a little bit of time where people aren't as equipped, but it shouldn't be as bad as New York is now.
We are required to use our PPE for 7 days, and that's pretty much true for everyone in the state.
Fuck. Yeah. No, we're not like that.
Our N95s, not our surgical mask, but for an N95, you have to wear it for 7 days.
Yeah, no, they're just screening employees and handing you a mask as you walk in the door, and then
that's same. Yeah, everyone's screened. You get a mask. You get a surgical mask.
But I know there are some facilities that aren't like hospitals. They're like skilled nursing facilities, and just.
A nursing home gets it. It's going to go everywhere.
So what about, you heard about this company in Ohio that has this machine that can sanitize and recycle 400,000 a day for each machine?
Yeah, I don't remember the technology they've done. There's also been a study that you can put in the oven at 170 Fahrenheit for 60 minutes, and it's 95% as effective afterwards. So I don't know if that was Hopkins or someone else that did that.
Yeah, I didn't hear that one.
Yep, 170, which isn't super hot. 170 Fahrenheit's not crazy, right? Water doesn't boil at that. But remember,
so when we wore those for particulate in construction sites for particulate defense, we were allowed to wear those for 4 hours at a time, and then we had to swap them out.
Well, right. So
but that's a much heavier duty use, though.
Right. Exactly.
Well, yeah,
so they're saturated. Yeah. And so if it gets soiled, or you do a very heavy aerosolizing procedure, they'll have you swap it out. If you code someone, they'll have you swap it out typically. But we're all on, massive precautions for that. It's kind of a mess. I mean, last time I admitted 5 people in my shift, and 4 of them were COVID rule out. Anyone coming in with a fever or respiratory distress or any sign of a symptom is presumed positive until otherwise. They're not all going to be positive, but that's the mode we have to operate under. And the hospital basically has almost no one else show up anymore.
So have you guys, or do you have any word when we're going to get an immunoassay for this thing, or is it all just swabs?
Well, no. So at some point they need to have an immunoassay so they can determine if you've been exposed and have immunity. I know it's coming. I just don't know when. I know it's in development that they're making antibody tests for it now.
Okay.
You just have to have enough. You have to have enough people who've had it for several weeks and been clear, so they're not infectious, right? And then be able to take their serum and screen for it for the antibody, pool that, and then develop an antibody to that. So it has to be general. You have to have, or what you do is you develop some type of COVID spike protein that you purify, and then you take people's serum and see if it binds to the spike protein, and then use an ability to detect that, just anti-human antibody. Something along those lines. That's probably what they'll do. So we have the spike protein, and we have other proteins from it already sequenced that we're using in other research. It's just a matter of purifying a bunch of it and making assays. Yeah. So It's not like this is a new trick either. Just like the test that we discussed last time, it's not new or difficult to come up with this type of test. It's the same technology. It's just doing it for this particular case. So that'll be soon. And that's going to be really important because it's going to be important to know if you have been infected and you're now clear and you have the antibody, can you get infected again or not? We don't think you can, but we need to prove it. And if that's the case, then the next phase of this whole thing will be eventually identifying people who are immune and letting them back out into the public. And then eventually, once the immunized population gets high enough, before even the vaccine's out, you'll have some level of herd immunity.
Yeah, no, that's the real issue. That's the kind of we have to decide. We have to figure out if that's the case, if you can get reinfected, because at that point, people should be shitting their pants. Because that's the serious thing.
Right. So it doesn't mutate very fast, from what we can tell.
Okay.
Well, so they've tracked these 8 different strains, but the mutational difference between the 8 strains is very minimal. And so it's a very slow mutator.
That is good. So it would be more of a lifetime immunity to this variety.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, that's good. Cool. So we would be like, this isn't like a long-term thing. This is maybe like 2 years tops for this whole issue to be dealt with.
Right. And then, the vaccine will hopefully be out in January of next year.
Okay, cool. So what are the areas right now that, speaking of shit your pants, like Florida, for example, that have not been on the ball at all with regards to social distancing or anything?
With a bunch of nursing homes and retirement communities full of elderly people with pre-existing conditions?
Yeah.
So I think, Trump had a come to Jesus moment with America yesterday, actually, where he discussed the 100,000 to 240,000 is the minimum we're expecting, given all the precautions we're taking. And without it, they were looking at 1 to 2 million deaths, right? And then the market shit its pants today because they didn't realize it was going to be that bad. And everyone's like, we've been telling you this forever. Yeah. So a lot of those deaths are going to be in places that haven't done anything, right? And I think it's going to be, more than the 100,000, maybe even more than the 240 if places don't eventually do something.
All right. So what you're saying is there's going to be a lot of real estate in Florida coming available soon.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, retirement homes will have openings, unfortunately. But it's sad. This is the government's job is to step in these cases and lock things down when necessary. You can be against the government doing a lot of things and be on all types of libertarian sides of the fence, but this is the use case for government action is giant global plague.
Well, yeah, what really pisses me off, as if nothing else pisses me off, because everything pisses me off about this, but is that the generation that fought World War II, that sacrificed their lives and made it through all that bullshit, that gotten all the way here, that we should be rewarding for stuff. And now I'm going off on a tangent here, but they're the ones that we're just letting their asses out in the wind, because it might hurt the economy. And I'm glad that they changed their tune on that, but they did it too late. So they're still going to get
those people aren't around. Remember, the people from World War II are mostly dead.
Well, yeah, there's still some people hanging on.
Yeah, it's the boomers that are don't destroy the economy. And the
sympathy for them, but
yeah. Was there one dude in Italy who survived the 1920 plague and coronavirus? Was infected with both and lived through both. 1920.
Can we get that guy's blood and just start? Yeah.
So they're actually doing that. So they're looking at doing plasma exchange, where you take people who've been infected and survived, take their plasma, which is their non-cell part of their blood, which has the antibodies in it, concentrate the antibodies down and give that as infusions to really sick people. Sweet. So we do this type of thing for other stuff routinely. So for people with immunodeficiency, we give just a cocktail of antibodies from other people. But this would be the corona case.
Hey, speaking of cocktails, so there's this treatment, I guess, that the FDA approved this week. This guy had been doing it off-label, and that's the hydroxychloroquine and zinc and Z-Pak.
It's not just him. Everyone's been doing it off-label. So not everyone's doing the Z-Pak or zinc. So hydroxychloroquine is what everyone's using right now. The protocol is if you meet certain severity criteria, which I can go over in a second, and you don't have a contraindication, you get 400 milligrams twice a day for 1 day, followed by 200 milligrams twice a day for 4 more days. So the brand name for the drug is Plaquenil. It's mostly an autoimmune drug because it causes cell stress and kills superactive immune cells. It's also an anti-malarial, though. And it's an anti-malarial because it causes cell stress, and cells with malaria in them are super stressed out and die when they're given hydroxychloroquine.
Oh, okay. So it's like chemo.
So, kind of, but remember, immune cells only, malaria only affects, I think, red blood cells. So as a result, you can just kill the very selected cells that are infected, and that's
we
it.
used to get a couple cases of malaria a year come through the lab. It's funky. It looks like little purple wedding rings in the actual RBC. So
Right. Yeah. So the way it ends up working is you only kill. It's better than chemo because it only kills the things that are infected, which is what your body's going to do anyway. The disadvantage is that there is an enzyme deficiency that many African Americans have that means they can't process it, so they all the cells die.
Oh, that sounds
So you
horrible.
have to test every African American for this enzyme deficiency. You also then were risk stratifying because it does something else, which is called prolong your QT. So without getting into the weeds, when you have an EKG, the different peaks are different labels. QRST. QT is the length between two peaks, and if you lengthen that too much, that's called long QT syndrome, and that can send you into a fatal cardiac arrhythmia called torsades de Pointes.
That's what I've heard now.
Right.
We're going at it on their own. All the groups don't talk damage or died.
oh man,
Because they didn't do it under medical care.
Exactly. And azithromycin also prolongs your QT.
now see, I've been like knee deep in all the conspiracy bullshit for the point of debunking it for so long that what you just said about the the population that has a certain sensitivity to the drug kind of brings up a little bit of a. I'm surprised somebody hasn't said, "Oh well, Trump went on national television and told people that they should start taking this drug, and who suffers if they take this drug." The people, yeah. So I'm going to let people fill in the blanks on that one because I don't want that to catch on because there's nothing to support that. But Jesus Christ, that's yeah.
Yeah, so the enzyme is specifically glucose 6 phosphatase, phosphate dehydrogenase, so G6PD. If anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't have that, your red blood cells can't have oxidative stress as well. It's more common in African Americans, and so you get screened for it so you don't, blow out all your red blood cells, cause massive hemolysis, and which can be fatal on its own. Not just from the low blood cell count, but because in a block it destroys your kidneys because all the heme in your blood gets into your kidneys and
elevated potassium and your
potassium, heme, hemoglobinemia. Not good.
Good times. So
very bad. Bad day. Yeah. So we're not doing a Z-Pak because it doesn't help really, and you're now having if you're doing azithromycin on top of hydroxychloroquine, then you have to really manage that QT. At least we're not doing it at our hospital. So different hospitals have different protocols. And then I have no idea about the zinc at this point. I mean,
well, what about fish tank cleaner? Is that something that you should?
you should not take fish tank cleaner, but they were right that it is the same drug. It's just in a different formulation and a different dosing, and so they probably overdosed.
Yeah, and by different formulation, I didn't look at the label on this thing, but I imagine it also has like chlorine and a bunch of other stuff in it that you really shouldn't put into your body.
Right, exactly.
Listen,
now,
a couple of industrial
is it the
byproducts never hurt anybody.
Right. Is it the active ingredient the same? Yes.
Yeah, good times. So I guess people don't seem to understand that there are consequences when the technically leader of the free world goes out and prescribes medication on national television. So yeah, this is a miracle drug. Everybody take it.
Yeah, I know. It's been fun. Yeah.
So
that's why I say I'm just happy that yesterday he actually just laid out what the numbers look like for once.
Yeah, and apparently if it's like 100,000 or less, that's a total victory.
It is actually a total victory, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't. Okay, so let's put it this way: if we had caught this and taken it seriously back in January, or let's assume we still had the people that were following the pandemic playbook that the previous administration had developed and left in place, what do you think we would have? I mean, just a ballpark figure. would it have been as high as 100,000, or would it have been less?
It could have easily been as high as 100,000, but that'd probably be more of a high end than a low end.
Which
Potentially.
the high end is
And so millions. Actually, I actually don't know. Maybe really in reality, you wouldn't have been able to change the curve. So maybe we'd be at 100 or 200,000, just like we're looking at now, right? But the difference would be that instead of everyone being quarantined and staying at home, we would have had rapid testing and had much more targeted quarantine and not been forced to shut everything
and it wouldn't
down
have wrecked the economy
as much. I mean, it would have hurt the economy. It wouldn't have wrecked it, right? Because you're still going to have mass places shut down, but you're not going to have to just all right, everyone stay in place while we catch up. If that makes sense, right?
So I saw a projection by an immunologist, and he was like, "Listen, this is not super scientific. This is just me. But if we'd been like South Korea, the low end numbers were 15,000. That was like everybody. That's probably unrealistic behavior for Americans overall.
Well, not just that, but I think it's been here for a while. It's been here since December, easily running around.
Yeah.
And China wasn't super honest about it. Let's be fair here; they were not super honest about the infection.
No.
And so we couldn't have responded as quickly, right? Like we were going to get walloped at least somewhat. So I think the 15,000 is more like, if it just showed up on our door one day and we had an initial point of contact and a couple unknowns and people were honest, I think that's a little over optimistic, but I think it would be on the lower side and probably with a better economic outlook.
But in no scenario was it going to be gone like a miracle by April, right?
No.
It was just going to be gone by April.
No.
I remember somebody of some importance saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was not true.
You know what?
He's
actually said some more realistic things lately, and that is, that's encouraging to me because it's been a long time since I've heard realistic things come out of certain people's mouth. So
I would agree.
I think you're looking at this wrong. Ultimately, it's a good thing because he actually kind of acknowledged he stopped trying to gaslight America for just a second.
Oh yeah, but then they restarted it by saying, "Oh no, he's never denied, downplayed the significance of this and tar and feathering."
I mean, baby steps, Neil. Come on.
Yeah, at least at this point, I just don't want him gaslighting America because we need to have this flipping dealt with.
Who was it that said that? Was it? Oh God, was it John Kerry of all people said you can't gaslight the virus? I think that was a quote, which is brilliant. I don't care who said it, but damn. So, I mean, let's not get too far into the politics because that's not helping anybody. It's just pissing
it
people
isn't
off.
right now. Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of where I'm at. Is I think Trump or any other leader needs to get called out if they're saying things that are actively making it worse. And other than that, leave it until we're on the other side of this shit fest.
I mean, Fox is worried about getting sued because of this, because of their kind of deliberate misrepresenting the situation initially.
Yeah, and maybe they'll learn from this lesson by not existing from a lawsuit.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Whatever. I could do without cable news in general. So, biggest thing people need to do individually right now. I mean, obviously, stay the fuck at home.
Yeah, and wash their hands. You don't need to panic buy. The reason there's so much shortages at all the grocery stores is everyone's panicking going to the grocery stores.
Yeah, there's the same amount of people that there was a week ago. So why is this?
And the food production hasn't had some giant supply chain.
Once again, what we've learned from this situation, one of the major lessons to take away from this current pandemic situation is it doesn't even matter if it's a respiratory issue. Americans are really worried about having clean bottoms. I mean, that's really what I've taken away from this.
There's a psychology behind this, right? It's one of the number one tasks people are trained from an early age not to do is shit their pants, right?
Yep.
Right.
Maybe where you came from, buddy. We got to that later where I was.
Well, maybe. Or maybe you're working on it. But so that's a real big thing, right? Don't shit your pants. And there's a fear of running out of things. Well, one of the things people fear the most is running out of toilet paper and thus being forced to shit their pants or not be clean and the social stigma of all of that. So it's just that all the stuff tied up in there with not having any toilet paper and what that would mean, right? Not that you can use a towel or something, but let's say people don't think that far. It's instinctual.
Yeah.
It's like there's a run on flour and eggs, yet most of America can't bake.
Seriously, there is no flour on the shelves anywhere.
Yeah, we finally got some, but we do bake.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like
my
it
wife
took us
does.
weeks. We took us weeks to get a 10-pound bag of flour.
Yeah, there was no yeast either.
There is zero yeast, but you can
Yeah.
culture that yourself. There was a great microbiologist that posted something on Twitter about how to just grow it off like a grape that's in your house.
Yeah, actually, so not to derail, but that white film that you see on grapes when you get them out of the store, that actually contains like a naturally occurring yeast, and so
That
that's
is
why
what
you don't
makes
need.
you-
Yeah, that's what makes wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yep. You can culture it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you think mid-April? That's what the
Mid-April
data looks like.
Mid-April is the death peak. My guess is they'll start slowing down restrictions at the end of April, not because that's the optimal time from an infectious disease perspective. That'd probably be the end of May, but because the economy just can't take it past that, and it's far enough into the process that it's again not the best, but not the worst time to ease up a little bit. I think many governors will resist and go through May, and that you'll see things open up into June and be more normal, be back to normal-ish in July. And there will be kids will not go back to school this year almost anywhere.
Governor Abbott came out and said that he in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, so there's no school. There's
the grade.
they have to repeat the grade in Texas.
Yeah, that they would be students would be repeating the grade. Is what? Well, you know what? That wasn't fully sourced, so.
Yeah. So we have it sourced in Pennsylvania that you don't have to repeat the grade. We have active homeschooling going on now. Colleges are canceling requiring an SAT for next year's application, which was going away anyway. But yeah, they are kids won't go back to school. They'll be homeschooled. I'm now a first grade teacher.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I have a toddler as well.
This next week, this Monday is when virtual classes start for AI.
Oh yeah, Penn's been doing it for weeks, and they said their summer school will be virtual as well because they're not gonna. Penn's gonna be very cautious where I'm at to go back to the lab.
Yeah, that's good.
I think a lot. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight about this was kind of how if things don't go back to normal, if the stay-at-home economy still factors in. And I think it will. I think there's a lot of companies out there that are kind of being like, hey, man, we're not paying a bunch of overhead that we normally pay right now, whether it be, paying people's gas or office space, rent.
I think it's going to prove what you can do from home and what you can't.
Yeah, I think this changes the working landscape because a lot of companies were reticent to do work from home programs, and this is going to open their eyes. So.
Right, but you're also going to realize the limitations. Like, I can't work from home. No lab. I mean, I can right now. I have a grant to write and another paper to write and a paper I'm waiting on resubmission stuff for, from the journal. So I have, a few months of work to do. I could take a coding class, but at a certain point I got to generate data and be in a lab. Okay. And, as a physician, obviously you got to go out. But I think, and my wife's in like meetings all day long and needs to be able to go in and talk to people one-on-one and not be as crazy about it. But I think this could prove that you can work from home several days a week, or you can have flexible home work hours and what you can and can't get done. And it also, I think, shows the limitations. There's only so much working from home people can do before they go crazy all the time. Like when you're not allowed out for anything.
You have to mix it up. But I think a lot of employers were taken aback by how there wasn't a huge dip in productivity like they thought, right? I've seen that many times in different articles and from actual people that I know that own businesses. Like, man, we're still, people are still meeting their goals and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's going to have a lot, especially when you factor in you don't have to pay all the overhead and all that. So,
right. And you're not normally going to have kids at home.
Right. Well, yes. Yeah.
That's the hard part.
We're all in agreement I think we're all in agreement that schools are awesome places, and that there's a bunch of enculturation that happens when kids, when some of it positive, some of it negative, when kids go to school at a centralized point. And I think some of that's necessary for what we think of as standard human development.
And I also don't want to think it's babysitting, but frankly, it's keeping kids out so parents can go to work and them in a safe, supervised environment, and that really matters. I can attest to this, having been with my lovely children for the last month at home.
So what does everybody think of the chances? Like, we'll just take a casual poll of we come out of this and teachers kind of get a raise because we appreciate them more.
Nah, it's not going to happen.
They're going to get a pay cut because all the state budgets are going to go in the shitter.
I think
God.
that's more likely, but I think that it's a shame that we're not more, long-sighted. What am I trying to say here? We're going to be short-sighted about it as usual.
Yeah. Have you
But
seen
they
the
should get a
Freakonomics?
raise.
Have you seen the Freakonomics on teacher quality? Are you guys familiar with the Freakonomics study on it?
I mean,
No.
I read the book. I haven't seen their latest stuff.
Well, yeah, no, just the basic theory. So, like, why when teacher quality went down.
No, go ahead. Go into that. Actually.
Oh, yeah. So
I-
teacher quality took a giant dip when women entered the workforce en masse, like outside of teaching and nursing. Because if you
It
wanted to
saturated
work
the market.
and you were female, if you wanted to work and you were female, you could only be a teacher or a nurse for a long time. So, really, people who are now CEOs of companies were teachers.
Oh shit. That's
Right.
That
Regardless
sounds
of regardless of the pay, right? Because that was the only job you could get, so you got paid. And now the best, and not to say teachers aren't good, right? But people follow money, right? So you don't get paid $300,000 a year to be a teacher, and if you can do that, you will. And so there's been a talent drain on the teaching community because all the teachers, the best and brightest of any gender now can go into all types of fields. And again, not that teachers aren't great and good, but that you can't. There was no
a pretty
market.
quick workaround to that is to not pay them dirt poor wages.
Absolutely,
You pay them
but you're
a more handsome wage.
but you're never going to get the level it needs to be, right? Like it was artificially low, right? Like even if we pay teachers $100,000 a year on average, you're not going to compete with what female doctors could make, female scientists, female lawyers, pick anything, right? You're not going to compete with that. And teaching didn't used to. Teaching just could pay whatever the hell it wanted, and you get the best and brightest because it's the only option.
I don't think we're going to go back to the old system anytime soon.
No, exactly. But it's a fascinating. You literally can track it happen.
Yeah, those guys are interesting.
Yeah, they have some. They found
stuff about a crime going down 18, 20 years after abortion was interesting.
Yeah, that's what they're most famous for. The teacher one is the second most famous thing.
Hey, I enjoyed the sumo matches are all rigged bit. That was fun.
Yeah, I love them. I listen to them pretty regularly. They have a good podcast, a very good podcast.
Probably check that out. I really like that author.
Yeah, Stephen Dubner's good. But yeah, what else is going on with Corona? We've talked about hydroxychloroquine, tent cities, peak in April. My prediction at the end of April, they'll start loosening up and more loosen up by the end of May. I'm going to call it. I'm going to say 500,000 deaths.
Okay. I mean, this isn't the Price is Right, so you don't have to pick a dollar. I mean, just
right.
go
Yeah,
for broke.
I'm going to go say 500,000.
Wow, damn. So 500,000 sounds like Trump wouldn't get reelected. I mean, not to do into politics, but that's bad. Because if he's already saying 100 to 240 or whatever the number is, and it goes above that, any kind of dramatic number above that, people are going to be pissed. So,
I don't know. He may get the wartime bump.
Yeah, we'll see.
He's already gotten some of that, actually.
Yeah, he already has. I mean, so this is what I don't think people understand is that this is our World War II. It's just that instead of sending a bunch of people overseas that you can't hear from, you send a bunch of healthcare workers to hospitals and they come back home and hopefully don't get sick and die. The other thing is there's a dose exposure, they think. So they think that the reason healthcare workers are getting sicker is they're taking more of the virus in. So a lot of the cases of younger people getting sick and dying are healthcare workers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do we have a rate? Do we have like a percentage of healthcare workers that work with it directly that,
I've tried to get those numbers, and I don't think they're readily available because I don't think they want people shitting their pants.
Yeah, that seems to be the theme for the show. It's like, yes. Okay, because, I have a personal interest in this because my wife she loves that high-speed environment, the ER, that kind of stuff as a nurse.
Yeah.
So she is like itching to go up there. She doesn't give a fuck about the money. She just wants to do her job because she is one of those supremely competent people that just takes charge of shit. So, And I'm like, if that's what you want to do, if you will regret not having done this when you're old, then we'll figure it out. But
Yeah, I know. It's scary though. I mean, I realize I'm putting my life in my hands every time I go to the hospital at this point. It's not a great feeling. It wouldn't have mattered as much, except now I have kids. That changes everything. But
yep.
yeah, it's a little harrowing. Not gonna lie. Being a healthcare worker, it's really weird. It's like the trenches between the shellings, right? Like, so all week you're just on edge, because I only work once a week right now. That'll change at the hospital. I only do it once a week, but that'll change here in another week or two. But every other day I'm trying to manage the kids and trying to like get a little bit of work done and be semi-productive as much as I can, all knowing that I'm going to get shot at for 12 straight hours.
Yep.
And then back to it again and hopefully not get sick afterwards. And, oh, no, it's been a week. I don't have symptoms. I'm probably good. Let's go get another dose.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful that I'm not on the front lines. We just get the shit after it's already been collected. So,
yeah, and it's in a tube, and you have to be a fucktard to get that on you at that point.
Just you don't lick the containers.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't seen my child in a week just because I stopped working last Friday and stopped being. I mean, I was able to maintain at least a 10-foot interval and everything, but despite that, I still had to go be around. People I'm not around every day, right? Different crew members and stuff like that. So, this Friday I get to see my kids.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just slowing this thing down. We're not stopping it. Stopping it should have happened a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's super contagious. This is basically the same virus as one of the causes of the common cold, which is super contagious, but that kills you.
Yeah, it's like three somewhere between 3 and 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. I was trying to explain this to somebody. He's like, multiply 6 by 6 by 6. How quickly do you get to like 1 million? It doesn't take very long.
Yep.
So, just math. Motherfuckers can't math.
I know. Where's Andrew Yang when we need him?
No, I say that, but seriously. But sincerely. I mean, God,
dude, there's like half of his platform is in the stimulus bill.
I know.
$1,600 a month.
NPR, so
Bernie
interviewed him, basically going, so what's it like having UBI passed by Congress? He's like, well, it's only for a month, and it's for the worst reason possible, but I guess it's good that we're at least doing it right now.
That is hilarious.
And if he was
I must admit, I have told a few of my conservative friends, hey, your socialist president is handing out money left and right just to make their eye twitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Just feel free to send back your Trump checks.
Just like what? There's no atheists in foxholes. There's no socialists. There's no capitalists in a pandemic or something, or libertarians.
Yeah. No. The joke I made the other day was libertarian in the streets, socialist in the hospital sheets.
Oh. Yeah.
You should feel bad about yourself.
If it makes you feel better, I got like 2 pity likes on Twitter for that. So
that's pretty good. I like that. I've described this as being like in a 56-day NanCat video.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, I'm going stir crazy. I've built out that home gym. I've got, shit that I'm doing. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys saw the video that I did yesterday, because I realized my security camera in the front can catch me, like, working out with the battle ropes and stuff. So I made that into a montage of America Fuck Yeah. And so I'm losing my shit. Did you see the last article on Bullshito, which is just Twitter posts from assholes saying the stupidest shit?
No, I haven't checked it yet.
Normally,
I've gone insane because I can't listen to the podcast. I'm with my children all day.
Yeah.
I'm with a 3-year-old. She turns 3 this week.
Oh, I feel you. If I hear another ABC Mouse song, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Do you know how many times I've watched Frozen, Frozen 2, and Frozen's Olaf Adventures in the last week?
Oh, jeez.
Like 30.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I just realized, as bad as that was at that age, I can't imagine how much worse it would have been if I'd been stuck at. Wait a minute! I was a stay-at-home dad.
But you can leave. You could take them outside and go to the grocery store. You could go. You couldn't go to the work, but you could go to the gym for an hour once a week or whatever.
Yeah, I go to the garage. Jesus. Yeah, it's getting bad. But anyway, I normally write funny captions to each of the things, but it just, after like 3 of them, I just started cursing, and then it was just all caps. It's like, fuck you. And
yeah, we're this is going to fundamentally change people. I think the point is just like World War II was a generation-defining event. Right? That defined a generation, right? The world was different after World War II. The UN formed, right? The nuclear bomb was developed. Like, it changed the world.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is that.
I like the meme, and meme not in the sense of an actual image with text on it, but the meme as in the idea that our generation, that I think all of us are in, is perfectly suited for this, the Gen X people, because
yeah.
we
We're
already
all
know
latchkey
social
kids.
distancing. We kind of don't we're not the most outgoing people. We we're just we just don't want to be around people.
I am proudly an elder millennial.
Yeah, I think I'm on the middle end of that. I don't remember.
I'm in that.
You and I are definitely Gen X.
I'm in '83, so I'm just a millennial.
Yeah, you're a
I'm like
millennial.
yeah, but I'm like that
You're on the
millennial
cusp,
that used.
No, wait,
yeah,
you're
I'm
right.
like I'm the millennial that used dial-up,
Yeah,
and then like I've seen every version of a modem.
like I swear, I know I'm Gen X like mathematically, but for fuck's sake, I'm I have the maturity level of what they ascribe to the millennials, so I might
Well,
as well
that's
be.
all Gen Z. Like all the people on the spring break, that was Gen Z. All the millennials are like the youngest are in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
And the rest of us are
Yeah.
approaching 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we're all getting crushed by student debt. That wasn't us, assholes. That was pretty funny that all those memes are out there.
Yeah.
The Zoomers.
We're all at work getting crushed by student debt. That wasn't us on the beaches.
It's like
Yeah,
people
exactly.
calling hipsters. Hipsters haven't been a thing for a while. I mean, it's not a thing.
Exactly. So
Listen,
yeah,
you damn hippies.
exactly.
Hippies is always hippies.
There's always hippies. But
Damn
no.
hippies.
That
Yeah,
bitch
so-
Carol Baskin.
I need to watch Tiger King. It's on my list.
I haven't even seen it, but I know.
Don't why? But why? I mean, why? I don't understand the fascination, the human fascination with lowest common denominator. Why is that?
Because we're
so,
trapped
like, I never
inside
watched
for
Top.
months on end with our children.
That's
Apparently alcohol consumption is through the roof right now.
Yeah,
Dude, I would
hard,
think
hard
that's
liquor
right
sales
higher.
are up 55% across the board.
I've eaten more bags of potato chips in the last week and a half, and I literally bought like 6 bags too. And I'm like, should I feel bad about this? Because that's just not who I am. But there's nothing to do.
I know.
Yeah.
I
So
know.
people are going to go one of two ways. They're going to become Corona jacked or Corona morbid.
I'm kind of
Essentially.
split the difference, man. I'm working out like a fucking monster, but this afternoon I put like 6 scoops of ice cream in a protein shaker, and I was just like, this is like my 4,000 calorie protein shake for the day. I don't give a fuck. Oh
Just
god.
put the ice cream on the pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's happening. It's one of the two right now. And God, like, can you only imagine if you didn't like your spouse?
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh no, that's another thing. That's actually a serious thing. The domestic abuse cases are like going through the roof.
Oh no, I haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, and child
that and child
too.
abuse cases. Yeah.
Oh God.
Like
Oh,
in
God.
France, it got so bad in France that they're putting women of the domestic abuses in these hotel rooms.
Oh no.
Because I mean, think you're standing at home, you can't get out, and there's no. Yeah, fuck. Some
People are
redheaded
going stir crazy
stepchild.
and are frustrated anyway.
Yeah, I want the numbers on the redheaded stepchildren that end up in the ER.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. That's why this is going to define a generation. It's because it's not just like, oh, we had to lose our jobs and have terrible economy. It's all this other shit that comes along with like staying in your house.
Yeah, and all the dumb fuck injuries that you get trying to, I don't know, clean your gutters. Oh, you fell down, broke a leg. Guess what, motherfucker? Nobody's there to take care of you. You're not a priority unless you're bleeding out and dying. But guess what? You might catch a little bit of a virus on the way in.
The COVID.
Yeah, like you go in for a sprained ankle, you come out with your lungs on the outside.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that's really scary about this virus is so it doesn't just affect the heart or the lungs. It attacks the heart, we think. So, what usually gets you, so to compare it to the flu inflames your lungs. You get something called acute respiratory distress syndrome. You also get a secondary bacterial pneumonia, right? And that responds to antibiotics, but that secondary bacterial pneumonia sends this ARDS into overdrive. Your lungs fill with fluid. You can't ventilate. You have to be put on a ventilator, and hopefully you ride it out, and your lungs get super stiff. It's hard to pump, and sometimes you just can't do it anymore. That's why people die of the flu.
That's related to the cytokine storm, the ARD.
Yeah. So it's basically the cytokine storm of the lungs. And the cytokine storm in the rest of your body drops your blood pressure, so we give you pressors like epinephrine, norepinephrine, vasopressin to keep your blood pressure up enough that you don't die. That can cause limb ischemia because you're clamping down on all the arteries to get the blood pumping in the heart, but then your limbs can not survive. So what's weird about COVID is that the lungs, from everything I've been able to read, are relatively compliant. They don't, they're not super tight, right? They're relatively loose. And people often get off of the ventilator and then have a giant cardiac event and die, or then back on a ventilator and die. They go into a separate heart failure a day after getting off the vent, end up back on a vent with heart failure and lung distress. And once both systems are down, it's over. Because you need the heart to be able to handle the load of the vent. Or vice versa, or the lungs to be able to handle the load of the vent because the heart's not working, right? Once you kill both, you're screwed. And so there seems to be this second wave that's affecting the heart. And viruses cause subacute myocarditis and heart inflammation all the damn time. That's not like a new thing. But this hits it hard days later in a subset of people.
So is it like the respirator treatment is kind of forcing the virus to migrate, or?
No, we think that the virus does this. Like, viruses affect the heart all the time. It just affects it mildly. For some reason, a subset of patients, coronavirus just takes a hammer to the heart. And it does it delayed. It's much more of a delayed reaction.
Is there like a profile of morbidity for who is actually dying from this?
Yeah, it's people with conditions like diabetes and hypertension and other things, which also affects your heart function. It's the standard comorbid. It's just it's oddly profound with them.
So taking this back to our first episode, I got into a bit of an argument because, of course I did, with people that are upset that doctors might, I don't know, not even are, but might triage them differently because they are obese. And I had to kind of explain to them that if in a situation where everybody's overloaded, I explained the concept of fucking triage. And that, yeah, it's not fair, but it's based on probability. So you're probably not going to survive, and the guy next to you doesn't look like he is a wad of cookie dough. Yeah, he might get the priority for the ventilator. So life's not fair.
Huh. Odds of living will determine who gets the ventilator because they want that vent to be maximally useful.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. It's going to be by age and by more comorbidity. And then after that, it's by healthcare workers. So after age and comorbidity, then healthcare workers are put at the front for all else being equal, right? You got two 25-year-olds going on a vent, and there's one vent left. It's a healthcare worker. Because a healthcare worker, when they get off the vent, can go back and fight the disease again and save more lives.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah, so it is a war from that perspective.
It is, absolutely.
It's. In Italy, it was.
And it's a war that you can't. And it's a war that you can't conscript people. Right, you can't. In a regular war, you have a draft, and you can send more soldiers. All they can do is get the fourth-year med students to graduate 6 months early, or 2 months early, really.
Which they can't because all the schools are shut down.
No, they are. So fourth-year med students are basically
they're basically already done.
They all matched, so they're all just going early, 3 months early. That's it.
If they're doing the same thing for nurses?
I don't know, probably, but that's all you can do, right? You can't do any more than that. So have fun.
Yeah, good luck. Well, welcome to this. I guess that's kind of a good deal. You get, early experience.
Welcome to Thunderdome.
Yeah, you don't have to sit through whatever fucking bullshit humanities class that would have kept you from graduating.
No, at fourth-year med students are all clinical anyways. It's just you're getting thrown in the deep end.
Okay, good.
Yeah. They're just, instead of doing some other rotation in a hospital, they're all going and being residents early.
Yeah, residents. The bane of my existence.
Yeah. We were all there once.
Motherfucker, why are you adding on 15 tests to this 6-month-old?
Learning.
Yeah. Why are you trying to add a CBC onto a CMP?
Wrong tube top.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know how you can do that because most, modern systems don't let you do it, but they'll find a way.
Well, do you have Epic yet?
No, we don't.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
So, I was going to say, we should check in at like late April. The time to check in, it'd probably be sometime after the 15th when we're at maximum hospital capacity and I've had a chance to check in at be in the trenches some more. Because I'll be on the trenches tomorrow night, and it'll be worse than last week, which was worse than the week before, but we won't be at peak yet. And we'll see if they open things back up at the end of the month. But I think people need to start viewing this like it really is the generation-defining war that, skipped people, right? Like the boomers had Vietnam in a way, but it wasn't the same.
Well, not all of them did. Some of them, never mind.
Well, right. But the point being is like in Vietnam, while it defined culturally, it's not going to define the world like World War II or this will.
Yeah, I know. That was just another fuck Trump. But
yeah, I know. But yeah,
it's okay, little buddy. It's okay.
Sorry. Speaking of doing dumb shit and ended up in the ER, I'm while we're doing this because I have to fidget with my hands. I'm trying to package up this what is it called? It's a hunting it's a deer skinning set. It's a game, yeah. And I stabbed myself in the stomach just a little bit, so
nice.
Good times.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have video.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get going soon.
Yeah, no. We figured this would be a short one, but yeah, we'll definitely circle back because, like I said, we got to keep people abreast of this. And honestly, the news does such a shitty job of talking to real people. And if they do, it's just like a snippet, and it's out of context. And so.
And you're trying to get these experts, non-experts, or experts explain something in 30 seconds, or non-experts to try to explain it and cock it up. And it's a mess. And I still have trouble keeping up with all the news. I have to get my stuff from, like the hospital gives us daily status reports, and then I check with the Pennsylvania Department of Health and everything else as much as I can. But we're just inundated at this point. So I'm like, all right, what are the clinical protocols today? It changes every 2 days. So I literally, like the day before the hour before I go into work, I read up on what the F I'm doing that day. Like, do I have to change in the parking lot and get naked and shift in, we're having like changing areas and stuff now. Like, what am I doing? Okay, tell me. But it's literally that fast moving.
Well, I mean, bring us back some information about, especially what I'm really interested in is the healthcare worker percentage, and I don't know if that's going to be.
I'm concerned about it. I'm also concerned that the doctors are getting fired for saying they don't have PPE now.
That is a thing that I hear happening. Everybody, nurses, doctors, anybody.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea in the pandemic.
Yeah, that's a great idea during a shortage.
Fire the nurses. And the doctors. Just fire them.
That's all those goddamn administrators, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk about them another time. All right, gentlemen, I'll let you go.
All right.
I'll let you know how it goes from the trenches in the next couple weeks.
All right, looking forward to it.
Peace out.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Hey, and by the way, just for those listening at home, make sure to like and subscribe to wherever you're consuming this podcast right now. Make sure to like us over on Twitter. Join us on our Facebook group. Please go to the website, bullshito.net. Ranked one of the least biased news sources in the world on the internet, and maybe join us for a little more conversation in the forum.